blast off. Hello, everyone. Juxtaposition here. Welcome to the show. We are doing my third video regarding the murder, what appears to be a ritual murder of this gentleman behind me, Saketh. This is Saketh. He is from India. He came to Berkeley, California on a student visa to pursue a master's degree in molecular engineering and chemistry for Jamie Kate and Jennifer Doudna at University of California, Berkeley. And I've done 2 videos on him. This will be the third. I am joined today with my cohort, Jennifer Small. Welcome, Jennifer. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you. Hi, Juxtaposition.
Hello, good to see you. Jennifer is eminently qualified to talk on the subject of, first of all, murder most foul. She is truly a Nancy Drew mentor, and she also has experience being on the board of trustees of a university college, Sarah Lawrence College back east. And also she was credentialed and licensed as a professional journalist for many years and worked for the UPI, to be specific. And she's been involved with many historical stories. And she's been at cocktail parties with the who's who of the big media business that you would recognize. And I want to pass the baton over to you, Jennifer, and just have you sort of set the stage, set the table for today's video. What do we hope to cover today in the next hour to 90 minutes?
I think we're going to talk about what's not being talked about. You've done 2 excellent videos describing the sequence of events leading up to from his disappearance to his death or the recovery of his body in Lake Anza, a few miles away from the Berkeley campus. You've talked about the people he was studying under, particularly Jamie Cates and Cates' wife, Jennifer Doudna, and their CRISPR technologies that they say will cure cancer, but we are concerned they're going to do a lot of nefarious things with their ability that they say they can do by hacking into our genetic codes. This is very dangerous. And he was a student of theirs. He was a master's student. But I was concerned, as having been a trustee of a college, by what seems to be an appalling failure to react at all by the University of California, Berkeley. And that could be, and probably is, related to the difference between a very small college and a huge university with a lot of military funding and weapons programs. But I just felt a need to speak up based on the experience I'd had. And then also really terrible reporting, terrible journalism about this whole story. And it just seems like this could be just another case where you have a murder, we think, or a suicide maybe, and it's just going to be a 1 or 2 day story and then go away. And I think one of the things that you do on your channel is revisit these deaths and say, well, let's look at it because nobody else seems to be looking at it, and let's see what we can find out.
Okay, great. I don't have any ability to show any of my photographs. I have dozens of photographs. I will post links below to the 2 videos that we've already done concerning what appears to be a murder being presented by the media as a suicide. I don't believe it's a suicide. There's 0 probability it's a suicide. Anyway, it's a murder. If it is, I haven't seen a death certificate, so it's either a Jeffrey Epstein, Anne Heche disappearance, Charlie Kirk disappearance, or it's a murder. Those are the choices. Okay. But anyway, I will post the link below to the 2 videos that have been already done regarding Saketh here. And also, I will show you mug pictures of the people involved. I do recommend you look at the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the persons of interest involving the death of this 22-year-old postgraduate student. The persons of interest are Jennifer Doudna. She's 62 years old. She just had a birthday. She has the Doudna Lab. She has a Nobel Prize. She's a Nobel laureate. She is the face of gene editing, CRISPR Therapeutics. She is a founder of CRISPR Therapeutics in Zug, Switzerland, with offices in London, Boston, San Francisco, Mission Bay, and apparently two laboratories in Berkeley, one at the University of California campus at 2151 Berkeley Way off Hearst Avenue, and a second with one of her previous postgraduate students, a 40-year-old Rachel Horowitz, who's the CEO of Caribou Biosciences, located 3 miles away near Emeryville at Ashby Avenue in the city of Berkeley. And that is a laboratory using the CRISPR Cas9 technology, which is gene editing, Frankensteining your brain, your DNA, your human genome. And they can do that at the Berkeley campus. They can do it off campus at Rachel Horowitz's office, and they can do it in San Francisco and Mission Bay at the University of California, San Francisco. They can do it in Boston, Massachusetts, across the Charles River from MIT University, which MIT is involved with CRISPR Therapeutics also, as is Harvard, as is Yale, as is Princeton. They're all part of the university weapon foundry. And that what I wanted to bring you in, especially since you've been on the board of trustees for Sarah Lawrence, which is a legitimate college. It is a small institution for higher learning. University of California has much more publicity and has 46,000 students enrolled at it, collects $1 billion a year in tuition money from students who go to Berkeley to the University of California Berkeley campus. There are 46,000 students, of which 14,000 of the students are postgraduate, pursuing master's and doctorate programs under the tutelage of people like Jennifer Doudna or Jamie Cate, spelled Cate. I always want to say Cates, but it's Cate. Cate. Anyway, they have to have a dean of the school, and those two are married. Jamie Cate is the second husband of Jennifer Doudna, who is the chancellor of biomedicine. And she's the most publicized chancellor at Berkeley, not the president, not the regents of the University of California, but her. She's the superstar. She has a Nobel Prize. And she's been knighted as a chancellor of biomedicine, having no medical licenses, seeing no patients whatsoever. The only people she speaks to are people like this 22-year-old kid behind my head here. She talks to kids that are wanting to get their PhD and master's degree, and it has to be signed off by a department head. And that's what Jennifer Doudna does. She signs off on postgraduate students who are motivated by getting a nice job with a high salary and a nice home. That's who motivates these kids. They are not there to cure cancer, and they are not there to learn about molecular science. They're there to get a job. That's their primary motivation. Not a single person is excited about gene editing. Not a single person understands what gene editing is. What they do know is that if you get a job at the Department of Energy, the Rand Corporation, Novartis, you can make $300,000 to $400,000 to $500,000 to $5 million a year, like in the case of Rachel Horowitz, who was a PhD student for Jennifer in Berkeley, and she makes $4.6 million a year as the CEO of Caribou Biosciences. And I can assure you that every one of the other students there wants that job too. Okay? Because then their life will be perfect. But in the case of this boy, allegedly, he was found 20 feet deep at the bottom of Lake Anza in the mud, and he didn't get his master's degree signed off by Jamie Cate. But I want to compare and contrast that UC Berkeley collects $1 billion in tuition, but it collects $6 billion from military contractors like the Department of Energy, Novartis, and DARPA, which is the Defense Advanced Research Weapons Laboratory for the Department of Energy, NATO, and military contractors who work on the campus that are not students. They're not students, and they're not professors, and they're not lecturers. but they work on campus making hundreds of thousands of dollars because there's a weapon foundry that is called Site 100 of the Department of Energy, and it is all fenced off with cyclone fences and armed guards, and it represents approximately 1/3 of all the total acres of Berkeley. The campus of UC Berkeley is under guard with cameras and barbed wire fences, and it's closed to the public, despite the fact that UC Berkeley is a public university. But they don't seem to care about their students, and they don't seem to care about the public, and they care about military weapon foundry operations that are closed to the public and use kids like this as slave labor to build weapons to pacify and control the world. So, could you, Jennifer, explain what is your opinion the proper fiduciary responsibility of people who are on board of trustees for colleges or institutions of higher learning?
Well, yes, I mean, you're supposed to care about the students. You're supposed to care about their welfare, and students and their parents need to know that students are completely physically safe on a campus. They don't have to worry about burglaries, assaults, environmental hazards, or if they do have mental health problems, there should be 24/7 hotlines available and on-site services. Now, at Sarah Lawrence is located in Westchester County, New York, Bronxville, New York. The Kennedy family once had a house in Bronxville. It's a very affluent town, and it's a very small school of under 2,000 students. But Manhattan itself is like an extension of the campus because it's so close. And many students go to Sarah Lawrence knowing that they're going to do some projects in New York, avail themselves to the resources there. I remember doing research at the Lincoln Center Library, for example, studying screenwriting for a film course I took. So it's very exciting to have all of New York right there at your fingertips. And the college attracts many students who are interested in the arts and the performing arts. But there's an enormous interest in the welfare of the students because that's where the money comes from at a small college. We didn't have Defense Department contracts. We had a very small endowment. And there's a self-interest in making sure that the students themselves are happy and want to stay and don't drop out or transfer somewhere else, because yield retention, like the yield on how many students enroll versus the yield that actually graduate, that's an important statistic for how well the college is doing in its job of educating and attracting qualified students. So, but also in a small college like that, where there was so much emphasis on the individual, there would have been just a tremendous outcry and reaction if something like this had happened to one of the students. And that's why I kept waiting for Berkeley to behave like Sarah Lawrence. And Berkeley doesn't behave like Sarah Lawrence, because I kept thinking, okay, well, there's got to be a statement from the college, the basic statement, like, we are very saddened to learn of the death of our master's candidate student, Saketh, Sreenivasiah, and we extend our deepest heartfelt condolences to the family. That's like basic, number one. Like, just write it out. I mean, it should be there. And there's nothing, there's silence. The second thing would be to put out a statement by the school to all students and parents that the campus itself remains a secure and safe environment, and that is something they take very seriously. And no one should worry that there's some sort of like kidnapping going on or intruders or burglars. And the college has a responsibility for that kind of personal safety of all the students, just like the school cafeteria has a responsibility for making sure the food is healthy and not poison. And thirdly, there can be something positive to come out of a death like this, which is a reminder by the college to all students that there are therapy services available and a 24/7 hotline that you should use no matter what. Don't be embarrassed. Call it if you need help, or call 911, and everyone is here to help, and everyone is pulling for you, and nobody wants to see someone take his or her life at any age, particularly if you're young.
Yeah, but Jennifer, there's no evidence that this kid's suicidal, right? So I'd just like to get off the suicide
Okay.
helpline
Okay.
because
That's
you know that Cal Berkeley has zero suicides per year for the last 80 years. I mean, I am unaware of one suicide in my lifetime by a student at Cal Berkeley. Ever. Not ever. Now, does that mean it's never happened? I don't know. It's extremely unusual. And you know what? I would not advocate having a suicide helpline at Berkeley because it's a waste of money. Because
okay.
all they're doing is looking for a job. And they know if they go to places like Harvard and Yale and MIT and Stanford or Berkeley, that if you graduate, you're going to be employed for sure. That's all they care about. So if you commit suicide, you'll torpedo your whole great life. So anyway, what I wanted to tell you is the media is presenting this story as a suicide. That's ridiculous. There's no evidence of that. There's no corroboration of that. There are no specific examples of anything to do. There's no suicide note. And by the way, if you were going to kill yourself, behind my head here is Lake Anza. This is the last place in the world you're going to commit suicide. There has never been a drowning in this lake in 87 years. Ever. Not ever. This would be the first drowning. This would be the first murder. This would be the first suicide in Tildon Park at Lake Anza in its history, which goes back to 1938. So this would be a historic moment in the East Bay Regional Park System that we finally have a dead person in this lake. This is the one. And he's not from California and he's not from the United States. He's from India. And he's not just any old Indian. He is a scholar student in the 95th to 99th percentile of the Institute of Technology of India. He is a top academic student and he is undoubtedly on scholarship for free at Cal Berkeley, working for a Nobel laureate, Jennifer Doudna, and her second husband, Jamie Kate, who is the department head who will sign off on Saketh's academic master's program unless he is murdered or commits suicide. The only thing to prevent him to be working at a high-paid job for the Rand Corporation or the Department of Energy or Novartis, who are all big players on the Cal Berkeley campus for the AI, that we're going to the AI and that we want to neuromodulate and gene edit DNA, manufacture zombie apocalypse humans. The only thing standing in the way of Saketh getting a $500,000 to $5 million year job is murder or suicide or he was deleted from the program. All right. So what do you say about the Mapples, Jennifer?
Well, I think that you just made the case that the JB Kate should have also put out a statement expressing condolences. Now you can avoid the topic of how he died, whether it was a suicide or not.
Right.
But you can at least say, I'm, saddened to hear of the death of so and so, and we extend our sympathy to the family. I mean, that
All
how
right.
hard is that to
So
say?
here's the dean. Here's the dean of the molecular biology chemistry department. This is Jamie Kate, CATE. Here he is. Jennifer, you heard any written statement, public statement regarding he just lost a top student from India, from the Institute of Technology, the MIT, the Indian Institute of Technology. He just lost one of their top people, is dead, allegedly at Lake Anza. Has he said a thing? That student went missing on February 9th. You and I are doing this recording, this video, on February 20th. It's been 11 days since his student has not been showing up in his laboratory, which the laboratory has a name. It's called the Innovative Genomics Institute. And Saketh has been AWOL, absent without leave, for 11 days. And since Valentine's Day at 2 p.m., Saturday, the 14th, allegedly, he's dead. So the kid has been dead for 6 days. He's been missing for 11 days. Has the dean of chemistry and molecular engineering, has he issued a public statement, Jennifer?
Nothing that I've seen or found, or that you have seen or found.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think it's,
I mean, that's kind of a red flag, isn't it? That you're not only has your university not acknowledged condolences for your absence from campus activities, but the people that you see and meet on a daily basis, Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday, at 2151 Berkeley Way, at the corner of Walnut Street and Oxford Streets and Hearst Avenue, that the people that you see at the Pete's Coffee, they don't have a comment that you're dead or that you're no longer appearing at work.
no, and it's, it's as though they really don't want to say anything either. Like they're
Mm.
distancing themselves, like, go away. I mean, we don't want you to even think about what we're doing here by acknowledging that this young man is now dead and that he was studying in our department. Um,
This is
in
the most important publicized person for the University of California systems and the most important superstar on the Cal Berkeley campus, Jennifer Doudna. She has a Nobel Prize. She's been knighted as a queen. She is the chancellor of biomedicine, which is a made up title. There's no such thing as biomedicine. Okay. But what Cal Berkeley has done, what MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, has done, what Stanford Research Institute has done, what Harvard has done, is they've poached the chemistry department, they've poached the physics department, they've poached the School of Engineering and Electrical Engineering departments, and they have created a hybrid. They've kidnapped the best of the chemical people, the chemistry people, the physics people, and the electrical engineering people, and they've created a unholy concept that is called biomedicine or molecular engineering, or it's called TerraSwarm, or it's called gene editing, or it's called CRISPR or CRISPR therapeutics. In other words, it's the combination of chemistry, physics, light, sound, magnetic resonance to damage and injure human DNA, to disable the tenets of thinking and cognition, and to tether humans to the cloud, computer to brain interface, the way that farmers tag and trace and target GPS their cows and chickens and their sheeps on a farm. In other words, it's human husbandry. And they won't use the words human augmentation or human husbandry or molecular damaging of your pituitary lobe. But here on the Juxtaposition channel, I say it right to the camera that this is the Wicked Witch of the West. Okay. And she went to Harvard University, has a PhD from Harvard, and she is the chancellor of biomedicine. And she has not spoken a word about a dead 22-year-old who works in her building at 2150 Berkeley Way. And she knows this guy because he works for her husband, Jamie Kate, and there is no way she has not met him. She probably went to the cocktail party to personally welcome him from India to the city of Berkeley and the campus, and she has not issued a statement. And she's the single most important internationally famous person with a Nobel Prize who founded a company in Switzerland called CRISPR Therapeutics in Zug, Switzerland, where they're going to link cryptocurrency and central bank digital currency, which is created in Zug, Switzerland, with her CRISPR Therapeutics, so that you don't need to carry a cell phone around and you just use your palm print, your eyeball recognition to get credit, to get social obedient credit to buy a cup of coffee or latte or to book a vacation to Havana, Cuba. That this woman is in charge of your life because you're living on the Jennifer Doudna cattle ranch, where you will be harvested or sent off to a cremation oven when your contribution to the collective is no longer needed. Back to you, Jennifer.
Yeah, well, what you've just outlined is the opposite of how she presents herself. because she has publicly said one of her greatest concerns is that all this technology, which she says is going to cure diseases and cancer and so
Right.
forth, be available for everyone and not just the elite. So she's putting herself out there as a great humanitarian and not an elitist.
Oh yeah.
And she's also concerned about her work going on generationally, which is why she recruited and developed this younger woman named Rachel Horowitz, I believe is her
Yeah,
last name.
Rachel Horowitz,
And
her
she's,
mini me, the mini
yeah,
me
she's the
version.
mini me,
She's
the type.
62. She's 62, and her mini me is 40 and likes to train for marathons and makes
And makes
$4.6 million
yes,
a year.
4 million
And but
bucks.
she's busy running. I'm sorry I can't make the meeting. I'm in Tilden Park running.
Well, I mean, what a great kid. You can go running and make $4 million and be on. I mean, who doesn't want that, right?
Right.
So anyway, again, because she's putting herself out there as someone who cares about humanity and she's dedicating her life to help humanity, why wouldn't she just say a statement like, we're really sorry to hear about this young man's death and we express our sympathy to the family. I mean,
Okay, here's mini me. Here's mini me.
yes.
This is Rachel Horowitz. And
And
her salary last year was 4,600,000. Her company is worth 1.5 billion. That company didn't exist when she was doing the same thing that the 22-year-old Saketh was doing. She was sitting at his desk at 2151 Berkeley Way, working under Jennifer Doudna as a very much penniless college student. And when she was signed off as a PhD doctorate, she became CEO of Caribou Biosciences. And today she's 40 years old and she earns 4.6 million a year. And she's worth much more than that because she has unexercised stock options. She probably has a couple of $100 million in stock options that we don't talk about, but just in terms of her compensation that was taxable in 2024, she made $4.6 million at age 40, and she likes to run marathons. Now, of course, there's no oxygen to breathe. So if you run around Berkeley training for marathons, you're going to be ingesting enormous amounts of polymer plastics and aluminum and titanium and arsenic poison from the skies above, dumped by NATO planes, who paradoxically are the ones who pump up the value of her company, which she is pimping out CAD9, and CAD9 is CRISPR Therapeutics intellectual property licensing. So she is selling the products to Novartis. Novartis is the consumer of CRISPR. Novartis. They own the PCR test. They own Sandow's lab. They own Timothy Leary. They own the LSD. They own Ted Kaczynski. That's who Novartis is. Novartis is tune in, turn on, drop out. They brought you LSD. They brought you the PCR DNA collection. It's not a test. It's a DNA collection of your saliva or your urine, or it could be like 23andMe or Theranos. It is a DNA collection so that these people like Rachel can put that information into a computer digital dossier to trace, track, and target you so that Jennifer Doudna can zap you with gene editing, neuromodulation, and make you into a senile dementia, Joe Biden, senile dementia retard.
yeah, well, I'd
Retarded.
like to I'd like to make an observation. She makes $4 million a year. She
Well,
dresses
round it to 5. It's closer to 5 million.
okay, and she's dressing as though she makes $19,000 a year. And
Right.
that's part of the hypocrisy and the lack of authenticity. And I mean, it's why do you have to dress poor if you're rich? I mean, why not be true to who
Steve
you are?
Jobs, remember the
Yeah, I
Steve
mean,
Jobs?
well, you
He
can dress
wears sandals.
casually, but you don't have to, she's just like a mess, sort of. I mean, I don't know. It just, that's a pet peeve of mine. Um,
Okay. This
so
is the lake where it all went down. This is the sign to the entrance to Lake Anza, which is about 8/10 of a mile down the hill from this sign. This sign is on Wildcat Canyon Road. And for purposes of discussion, people, the distance from Jennifer Doudna's lab and the Innovative Genomics Institute laboratory, with Jamie Kate, who is the supervisor for our deceased, Saketh. The distance to actually the water line of Lake Anza is 3.5 miles, 3.5 miles minimum distance. Now, that may not seem like that far, but you need to understand it's very mountainous. In order to go from the lab, which is about 20 feet above sea level, to Lake Anza, you must climb 1,800 feet Berkeley Hill. You have to go up Strawberry Canyon or take Marin or take Spruce to get to Kensington to get to Wildcat Canyon Road. In order to get to Wildcat Canyon Road, you have to go up 1,800 feet of climbing. Then you descend down to the sign. This is about a 600-foot descent to the sign. The lake is below the sign, which is another 400 feet below the sign in terms of vertical drop. So you're talking about climbing 1,800 feet, then descending 1,000 feet to be at the lake. The lake is at 800 feet of elevation. The shoreline that I showed you earlier is at 800 feet of elevation. And there are 100 left and right-hand corners to terrace your way up the hillside, because you don't go in a straight line because the hill is pretty steep. So when I talk about 3.5 miles to where the body was found, from where he goes to get his academic scholarship work, it's 3.5 miles. But in terms of drive time, it's close to 25 minutes because of the stop signs and the steepness and the lefts and the right corners to get there. And by the way, this lake is closed. It doesn't open. Lake Anza is not open until April 26th. So if we're to believe that his body was found on Valentine's Day, the 14th of February, then that means that Saketh, who is a visitor here in California, who is from India, he's here on a student visa, he's trespassing. He's trespassing on Contra Costa County, East Bay Regional Park lake that is closed to the public. This lake is closed to the public. So in order to commit suicide or be murdered or have your body disposed of anywhere near this sign, anywhere below this sign, you are trespassing on property that is closed. You could be arrested for trespassing or loitering. Back to you, Jennifer.
Well, you mentioned Valentine's Day, the day the body was found. I'd just like to share a little bit of the tweet that was posted on Valentine's Day with this discovery. But this was from the Consulate General of India of San Francisco. And they had previously tweeted about the fact that he was missing. And now they expressed their sympathies, and they said that their consulate stood ready to provide all necessary services for the family, and they were in touch with the family and having to do with the repatriation of his mortal remains to India, and that they were going to be working with local authorities on this. They didn't say what type of authorities, and the Indian consulate said what I would have thought Berkeley would have said, that we're doing everything we can to reach out to the family and help during this difficult time, etc. So that, again, like the consul is stepping up to the plate. Now, you and I were talking, and you said you don't necessarily have a lot of faith that the consul of India was going to do anything, that maybe this was just PR. Is that what you're thinking? This is just PR, that they had to say this.
Also, why do you use the words mortal remains? That sounds like ashes, cremation ashes. Or do you mean embalmed body? Do you mean unembalmed body? Mortal remains, to me, connotes we're cremating this person.
Yeah,
because we are not sending him back to India so that one of your crack medical examiners can see if we use cyanide poison to kill this kid.
Yeah, it does have a language that we wouldn't commonly use, I think.
Because I don't know if it means cremation, ash, or if it means embalming, or it means we won't touch the body, we'll let your people look at it. I don't know what it means.
Well, I think it also implies that his spirit is already in heaven. So what's left of his mortality is maybe the ashes.
Right. But we have a crime scene. This is a crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know why it's a crime scene? Because we have police. There were City of Berkeley police were there, which of course they don't have any jurisdiction there. You do know the City of Berkeley Police Department does not have any jurisdiction over Lake Anza, which is in Contra Costa County and is governed under the Sheriff's Department of Contra Costa County. And any murder investigation would be conducted by the District Attorney's Office and the Sheriff of Contra Costa County. And of course, they were not present during the discovery of this body, but the City of Berkeley police were, and they're not in charge of this investigation. Because the investigation is always run by where the dead body was found.
Mhm.
That's how we do it. That's what we did with the Aaron Valente death. That's what we did with the Lino LaBianca and the Abigail Folger, is tell me where the dead body is, then that person's sheriff's department or that city police will handle it. That would not be Berkeley. That would not be Alameda County, who we used their dive team. This is an Alameda County boat using Alameda County paid divers. And then the next question is, how come Johnny Roselli and Natalie Wood couldn't sink to the bottom? But you're telling me you need divers? They didn't use divers to retrieve Johnny Roselli, and they didn't use divers to retrieve Natalie Wood. What is unique about this 22-year-old from India? How come he sinks like a boat anchor, but Natalie Wood doesn't sink like a boat anchor? And Johnny Roselli was in a steel 55-gallon drum, and he floated to the surface, and he has steel around him with holes drilled into the steel so that it would take on water, and he still floated to the surface. But this kid has no steel drum. He has no orange down coat, and he's floating around, in the mud. And I need sonar, and I need technology, and I need dive team to rescue this guy from, the inner sanctum of this lake that has never had a dead body in it in 87 years. Back to you, Jennifer.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where the more you look at it, the more absurd the cover story is. But that also leads mystery. I mean, this story, this case, this death begs for some authentication. We need a medical examiner's report that says, here's the body, he's really dead. He died of drowning, whatever. He was this old, this was his height or whatever. Something that, I mean, we got to make sure, was there really a body? How do we know that wasn't like a stuffed mannequin at the bottom of the lake?
We've never seen any pictures depicting his remains.
Yeah, we were talking about everything could be AI at this point. Like, what's real? Let's see. Let's get some real tangible, good evidence, and instead of everything that's just being put out on the internet. For example, I don't even know where this man really lived. I mean,
right.
That's another mystery.
Well, let me ask you some simple questions that I'm sure put your journalism hat on now. You had your college trustee hat, which you sat on a trustee board for Sarah Lawrence. Now let's move you to the journalist reporting of news incidents. Here we have an alleged suicide. It's being presented as a suicide. The reason that we say it's a suicide is his roommate, who we don't know who the roommate is. We don't really know if the roommate is a student or a national of America or India. We don't really know. But he said that Saketh was seen wearing a red bathrobe to his lecture classes and was walking home wearing a bathrobe. Now, that cannot be a true story, because if it were true, you wouldn't tell the media that. It's rather humiliating and embarrassing for the parents to read that their son is walking around the city of Berkeley wearing his bathrobe, and he doesn't even put his clothes on. That sounds really bizarre.
Well,
but it does make it look like the guy's crazy, so he killed himself.
Yeah, but he kept saying it's a red bathrobe. And
it's a red bathrobe, and we didn't find his body until the day we give red roses on Valentine's Day.
I mean, does
that sound like a sign and symbol?
It's like me thinking, does try too hard because I mean,
Right.
one guy described another guy's what color bathrobe he was wearing. I don't know. I mean,
Well, it's a
but
little bit too much information,
yes,
don't
yes,
you think? Now, let me give you some easy softball questions that you should be able to hit out of the park. So, Jennifer, being a journalist, how complicated it would be if you knew a student at Sarah Lawrence University was found in the duck pond, drowned or dead, face down in a duck pond? How hard would it be to go to the administration building and ask, do you have a file on the dead student? Could you give me the date that they began classes on our campus? So this character was flown from India, where he graduated from the Institute of Technology of India, and he's flown to City of Berkeley to enroll in molecular engineering and chemistry with Jamie Kate at 2151 Berkeley Way at Oxford Street. What date did he arrive and check in with his student advisor? Because every master's student has a student advisor. Jennifer Doudna was the student advisor for Rachel Horowitz, who went on to make $5 million a year running CRISPR Therapeutics under the licensing agreement of Caribou Biosciences, which is also code for Dinovax, if you didn't know. Dinovax is Caribou Biosciences is in the same building as Dinovax is. They're on the same first floor. They're Siamese twins, and they do the same things. They do vaccination of graphene and polymers, and they do CRISPR gene editing. All right. So, how complicated, Jennifer, would it be to find the name, the street address of whether or the residency hall where the student lives, and what date they commence their education at the university? Back to you, Jennifer. Could you answer those
well,
questions?
well, it wouldn't be hard. I could even envision the the office at Sarah Lawrence where I would go for that. But the my what I'm itching, the reporter in me is itching to do is talk to his friends or people he went to class with. I mean, let's
Right.
get some eyewitness
You think
personal.
some other people might have seen him sitting around wearing his red bathrobe?
Yeah, and
Or
so
is it just the roommate? Is
what
he the
about
only
Jamie?
person?
What about
Is there
his
other witnesses?
Yeah, and it wouldn't even have to be another student in his field. It's just look at that guy walking down, the street in
Right.
a red bathrobe. I mean, it's. But I would no. I'd like this is basic, easy journalism. You go and you talk, knock on the door. Hi, I'm so and so. Could I ask you a few questions? And people would tend to want to say something. They want
Well,
to express themselves and talk about like he was a nice guy. I just knew him for a few months. We used to have dinner together now and then. He was I don't know what happened or something like that.
well, it's so sad that none of that's been done, Jennifer. We don't know anything about this kid. We don't know anything about his roommate. I mean, going to a LinkedIn page, that's wonderful, but I don't think the LinkedIn page is going to give you the date that his master's degree program education commenced. I want to know the commencement of when he began and when he was scheduled, because there is a tentative plan for him to complete his thesis and his program. That his student advisor is his student advisor Jamie Kate, or is it a different person? Maybe it's a teacher's aide. Maybe it's not Jamie Kate, because Jamie Kate's too important to deal with a 22-year-old. But I want to know who is his student advisor, what date did they begin working together, and I want to know when is he scheduled to complete his master's program. And then I would like to know what residential housing has been assigned to him. You don't have to give me the apartment number, or you don't have to give me the street address, but give me the block. If he's in a house, give me the block. William Shatner's third of four wives was found dead in his swimming pool at the 3600 block of Berry Drive. It turns out the address is 3674, but I had to be a sleuth to find that, which is a 9/11 address. But the point is, the media didn't have to give the address for Captain Kirk William Shatner, but they were responsible enough to get you within a block of his house. They said the 3600 block. That's about 20 different homes it could be. And if you just go one at a time, you will find the one that has the swimming pool, that it comports to the photographs that were shown, and you will find William Shatner's home. It's not difficult to do, but the media didn't explicitly say it. In this case, they haven't, not only have they not explicitly given you the address of Saketh, they haven't even told you if he lives in the Park Hills area or Park Hills Road, or he lives near the golf course. There's an 18-hole golf course, or if he lives by Wildcat Canyon, or he lives on Wildcat Canyon, or he lives near but not on, or one of the side streets. There's a number of other streets he could have lived on, or if he's living in the dormitories down by Memorial Stadium football stadium, maybe he's living down there, which means he's walking distance to where he goes to class. Here, he's at least 2.6 miles away from the housing in Tildon Park. He is a minimum of 2.5 miles away, which means he has to have a car. He has to have a car because the bus doesn't go to Tildon Park anymore. They terminated the bus service during COVID in 2020. So when this kid was just entering university in India, the city of Berkeley and the county of Alameda suspended the public transportation in the neighborhood that they're implying he lives in a neighborhood where there is no public transportation. So that means he'd have to call an Uber cab every single day that he goes down the hill to school, or else he's got to walk, and that's going to take hours. And then it's going to be, where's your car? Or who's giving you a ride? Back to you, Jennifer.
Yes, and the mystery deepens because there are reports that his knapsack was found on a porch. Is that correct? Yeah. With a laptop and a passport inside.
Well, they didn't explicitly said the laptop was in the backpack, but they said the passport was in the backpack. Okay. Why is that where you keep your passport in your backpack?
This whole thing just smacks of
safekeeping. Like, what if someone steals your backpack? There goes your passport.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is seems more and more planted because
didn't that happen in 9/11, Jennifer?
Yes,
when we had the hijackers and we didn't really know where they. When you found one of their passports,
yeah, it just fell magically out of, it fell magically out of the sky, intact, perfect.
Right.
And this, I mean, and also there's no suicide note that we know.
Yeah, where's the suicide note?
And it's like, okay, we want everyone to think that he drowned. So we're going to make sure that here's the knapsack with the passport.
Make sure to show me a picture of the lake. I want to see that beach, which is a man-made beach. There's no sand at Lake Anza. That's trucked in, okay?
Okay, so here's, and that's why it's so frustrating not to have a basic fact of, did he live in a dorm or did he live
this is a fake beach, right? It's fake. This sand does not belong.
Well, that's okay to have a fake beach. I mean,
yeah, that's okay. But I'm just letting you know, that's the picture they're showing. They're not showing you the 95% of the shoreline, that there is no shoreline, that it's vegetation right down to the water level. There's two paths that go down there, the Silby path and the Mineral Springs path. Okay? Both those paths are in Contra Costa County. Only one of the two goes down to the water. The Mineral Springs path goes to the water. It's about 6 feet of shoreline, 6 feet, and it's clay mud. It's clay mud. And it's been raining every single day for the last 10 days. So this kid, it's not raining today. This is the first day out of 11 days it's not raining. So you want me to believe this kid somehow went down to this lake, and there's only 3 places to access the water. 2 are on clay, muddy trails that are like gutters of water rushing down those trails. And that he, like Houdini on a magic carpet, is going down those trails and not slipping and sliding like a surfer. And then he gets himself in the middle of the lake. The water temperature is going to be like 53 degrees. I don't even know if this guy can swim. And then he sinks like he's carrying too many boat anchors. And he's at the bottom. We need Navy SEAL team from Alameda County to come in and get him out of this. Like, why do you even need a boat? You know how small this lake is. You absolutely do not need a boat. Okay, get that boat out of here. I mean, it's really dramatic. But, the divers can come in from that sandy beach. They don't need the boat. What does the boat have, some special sonar thing? The lake is not that big. Just swim around and feel the mud. You can't see a damn thing. It's all muddy. It's all muddy.
It's a good visual. It's a good visual. It's
okay, but it's a good visual. But I'm here to tell you that the dive team does not need that boat.
No.
Does not. Now, I agree, you cannot see a damn thing in that lake because it's all brown mud. And the reason it's all brown mud, normally it's not, but it's been raining every friggin' day for the last 10 days. So it's Noah's Ark. It's crazy. So every photograph of Lake Anza that you're seeing that is in the media today is not very representative of what it's like. And number two is it's closed. You see those buildings behind, that's where they have a salon, they have a massage area, they have flush toilets, they have a place where you can have indoor dining, like a little dining hall in there. That's all locked up. Those bathrooms are closed. There's probably not even any toilet paper in the rolls because remember, it doesn't open until April 26th. So there's no need to service those bathrooms. No one is using that facility. And that's where the City of Berkeley police truck is parked. And they don't belong there. They're trespassing. The City of Berkeley police does not belong on this property. This is the Contra Costa Sheriff's jurisdiction. And you see the lifeguards right behind my head is where the lifeguard sits. He's not going to sit there he's not going to really show up until May 15th because just because the park opens on April 26th, it's too cold to go swim in that lake then. So I don't need a lifeguard. No one's going to be swimming until May. And they really only swim June, July, August.
Yeah, and if you did dump the body, how are you going to get the body out there? And it doesn't make any sense that the body didn't float up.
And you're not seeing in this picture that there's cyclone fencing completely around the perimeter of those bathrooms and that facility, and that someone had to have the key to that gate to get on that property, which would not be the City of Berkeley. They don't have a key to the gate. So the question is, who let them in? And I'm just going to take a wild guess and say it was the East Bay Regional Park ranger who definitely has a gate to let you into the sandy beach. And they do have an office in Oakland, California, off the Warren Freeway, the Earl Warren Freeway. They have an office near the Nolan Park Zoo for the East Bay Regional Park. And they have the keys to this beach. It's in the city of Oakland. It's not in the city of Berkeley. But they could call and say, as a courtesy, could you get a ranger down here and open the gates? And I'm sure they'd be happy to do that. For this photo op, this is a photo op, to create the illusion for people around the world to look at Lake Anza as if this is a dangerous lake that you could drown in, despite the fact that in 87 years that it's been there, since 1938, they've not had a single person drown. They haven't had one murdered body or one suicided body ever on that beach or in that lake. This is a Natalie Wood one and done. Only one time in the history of Santa Catalina Island did they have a person who moored their boat in the estuary drown, and that person was Natalie Wood. 33 days before the end of 1981, Natalie Wood was plucked out of the water. 33 days before the new year. And this kid is plucked out of the water on Valentine's Day, 2026. I see a tremendous similarity between the ritual murder of Natalie Wood, age 43, who had just done computer to brain interface brainstorm with Christopher Walken, who was present for her murder. She was murdered, and Christopher Walken was there along with Robert Wagner, her two-time husband. She married him twice, divorced him, remarried him. Christopher Walken was there. He's an actor in brain to computer interface called Brainstorm. And she was killed, the only person in the history of that Santa Catalina Island, tossed in like a sack of potatoes, thrown away like a used tissue at age 43 after and during filming a Brainstorm. And this kid is found allegedly in a lake that has never had a single drowning in 87 years on Valentine's Day, while we're in the middle of Terra Swarm, computer to brain interface, courtesy of Jennifer Doudna, gene editing, Jamie Cates, molecular engineering, molecular mind control, brain to computer, AI. This guy is not different than Natalie Wood. One's a Hollywood actress, and the other is a scholar student from the Institute of Technology of India. and they both ended up like a sack of potatoes in a water system, murdered. Back to you,
But
Jennifer.
Natalie Wood floated up. I mean, her body was found floating
Correct.
up.
Where this guy needed a dive team, where
And
Johnny Roselli didn't. He was
well,
killed
I mean,
in
what?
Biscayne Bay.
All right, what if you had a Gladio kill team? Okay, and they've killed
Yeah,
the guy. Now they want to put the body in the lake.
right.
It's possible they pulled him down, and they had some sort of once
You
he
mean
was down,
you have to weight
they
him down?
yeah, and once he got down, they used something on his body to weight him, to keep him down, like put rocks on
Right.
top of him
Sure.
or something like that.
That's possible. I'm just telling you as a practical matter, since I know this property really
Mhm.
well, and I already told you in case anyone forgot, in order to get to this lake from the city of Berkeley, you have to climb 1,800 feet, okay, up a mountain called the Berkeley Hills to get to Grizzly Peak Boulevard. Then you'd say, well, no, I want to dump a dead body in the lake. Well, now you have to go downhill 1,000 feet. You have to descend 1,000 feet. First, I have you climb 1,800. Then I have you descend 1,000. Now you're at the lake. Now here's the problem: the lake is closed, and there's a fence. There's a cyclone fence that prohibits you from getting access to this beach. You can't do it. There's a fence that locks this beach off to the public. Now you say, well, I'm a Gladio soldier. Rules don't apply to me. Okay, well, then you better have at least 6 guys because, and I wouldn't, that would be the easiest way to do it is drive down the road, which is open, park in the parking lot, which is open. But now you got to get around the fence. Now, can you carry the body around the perimeter of the fence in the weeds with a steep hill? I mean, yeah, if you have 3 or 4 men, strong, athletic, soldiers, could you do it? Yeah. It's kind of a lot of effort though. Then you have to go all the way around to where, over here, where I'm pointing, you got to go. I'm trying to see here that way. You got to go over that direction
Yeah.
to get
Mhm.
access to the water, and you won't be on sand. You'll be on weeds and roots. You're going to have to go over there. You're going to trip and fall because then you also need night vision. I'm assuming you're going to do this at night, in which case now it's even more complicated. You got to have night vision because you're going to step in a hole. You're going to twist your ankle. You're carrying a dead body. And then, okay, now you're at the lake, but how are you going to get in the middle of the lake? Well, you need a boat. So somebody needs to get a rubber raft. We got to put the dead body in the raft with a guy. And then you got to go out in the middle of the lake. Then you got to weight him down. It's going to take hours to do this body disposal. And you should just know from my experience, there are hundreds of places I can dump a dead body in and around Grizzly Peak Boulevard and Skyline Boulevard and Redwood Road and Pinehurst and Canyon. There are thousands of places I can dump a body. It'd take me and another person, 2 people could do it, 90 seconds to 2 minutes to throw them over the edge of the road. Their body will somersault down about 200 to 300 feet before they'll hit a tree. And no one will find that body for a year or 2 years or never. They may never find that body. You don't need to use a lake, okay? You can just dump them on the side of a hill that no one hikes. There's no hiking trail. There's no creek that you could go. It's just the side of us. It's part of the watershed of the East Bay Regional Park System is a watershed. It is a watershed and a park system. It's a combination. But if you dump the body in hundreds of different places far above the water line, no one is ever going to find it. It's poison oak, it's oak trees, it's heavily forested, and not a single person is going to see it with a helicopter. No one is going to use a heat sensor. It's gone. The only reason you use places where bodies are discovered is because you want the body to be discovered. And Lake Anza is a photo op. It is a Hollywood screen. I don't believe this kid's body was found here. I think this is all complete theatrical baloney. And that if this kid is dead, he was probably killed in the city of Berkeley, and he was killed in a residence, or maybe he was killed in Jennifer Doudna's office, for all I know. And that they have put his body in the medical examiner's care, but it never at any time was in Tildon Park, and it was never at any time at Lake Anza. That's my guess. If I had to use my supposition, I would say that this kid was nowhere near Lake Anza. And now his backpack, you could put that close by up the hill and say, oh, yeah, his backpack was here, therefore he was here. No, his backpack is there. Doesn't mean he was there. But you see how easy it is to fool people, Jennifer? It's like a Columbo,
Well,
right?
yeah,
Every single Columbo episode, the killer always is somewhere other than where the body was found. So then they say, oh, it wasn't me. I was at the opera. It wasn't me. I was at an art gallery cocktail party. When it was you, you tried to fool me. Nancy
well,
Drew. Nancy Drew.
well,
What say
when you're
you,
saying,
Nancy Drew?
well, when you're saying how I could throw him someplace he'll never be found, what hit me was, but they want him to be found because
They
they've
want
got
him to
this
be
whole
found.
stage. They want the boat, they want the
Right.
cop cars. But then that I started thinking, well, how did they even know to look in the lake to begin with?
I
And
don't
maybe,
know. I would never have thought of it myself. I
well,
would be
is it,
thinking like, let's go to Redwood Road. If I was with you, Nancy Drew, and we let's say we were at Lake Anza because that's where the backpack was found up on Wildcat Canyon Road, which by the way is almost a mile away from this beach. It's almost a mile away is where the backpack was found, was about a mile from this beach. So if we found the backpack a mile from this beach, do you think I would have thought, oh, Jennifer, let's go down to the sandy beach? Of course, I know it's locked and it's closed, but we'll jump the fence. I'll help you. We'll just jump the fence and break our legs. And we'll I just think the body could be in the lake. That's not what I would have thought. I would have said, Jennifer, let's go to Redwood Road. Let me show you these really excellent body disposal places. And I would spend the next week with you showing you. I mean, I got 7 miles of curvy road I can dump a body. Easy 7 miles of body on both sides. So it's actually 14 miles. I got a 7 mile section of Redwood Road, and I can dump a body on either side of it, and you'll never find that body. Some places are better than others, but we could debate where we should dump the body. It would take us a week because it's not that there's a shortage, there's a surplus of body disposal locations. And do you know that Cal Berkeley has had murders of students in the last 80 years? And do you know where those bodies were dumped? On Redwood Road. They were not dumped at Lake Anza. They were dumped in Oakland, in the city of Oakland, far away from the city of Berkeley. In other words, the murder happened in the city of Berkeley, but the body was found in a different jurisdiction, in the city of Oakland, which the Oakland police would be responsible to look into the murder of the dead body found on Redwood Road, not the city of Berkeley. We have that situation in play here. And I know from my experience as a paper boy and as a reader of news and as a bicycle rider and a motorcycle rider who is familiar with all the roads, paved and unpaved. We have unpaved fire roads too. I never mentioned it, but I know the unpaid fire roads too. So you have a whole network of body dumping choices, off pavement, off dirt road, running trail, goat trails. There are thousands of places that you can dump a body. If I was involved, you would never find that body. Never, 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 never. And in this case, there's not a single photograph of a dead body. So it doesn't look like they found a dead body in Lake Anza. They didn't go to the next step with the suicide note and the picture of the dead body. They could have put him right there next to the lifeguard's chair on the sandy beach, take a picture, send it to his parents. They didn't do that.
well, I don't know. I mean, I thought I saw a video on YouTube showing like a guy in a body bag, but I can't be
I
positive.
didn't see one.
I can't be
I
positive.
look, I'm not going to spend my life, relying on YouTube. I don't trust YouTube to tell
Mm.
me the truth, right? But you could simulate it,
Well, that's another thing too, because the YouTube videos that I saw, which were uh, produced by Indian content creators,
right?
segued into the fact that Indian students were being killed and
Yeah,
universities in the West,
850 of students in the last 5 years, whatever,
in
been killed
Britain
on
and the
campuses in
United States.
America.
In other
There's a
words,
narrative,
yeah, they were taken away from, like, this is just
right?
one of many who are being
Well, and they
killed.
were saying 60 of them were suicides or something.
Yeah, So that's another way to deflect from the fact that this could have
Right.
been a
But I
hit.
saw a YouTube video where Jeffrey Epstein apparently attended the Super Bowl at Levi Stadiums last weekend, and there he is taking selfies with George W. Bush and Donald Trump and Satan and Satan. But
Well,
I think that was
that's
a
good.
fake video. I think that
Yeah.
might have been a fake video. But you know what? This picture behind my head here with the Alameda County boat and the dive team and the City of Berkeley police card that doesn't belong on this property. You know what I think? I think that's a fake picture. I mean, they could have really done it, but it's really, really fake. There's no dead body. There's no divers. There's no legal jurisdiction for the county of Alameda to be there when it's in Contra Costa County. Shouldn't it be the Contra Costa County boat? Yeah, it should be. That's the wrong boat. And that police car at the top of the screen there, that's the wrong city police. Should be the Orinda police. The city of Orinda is closer to this lake than the city of Berkeley is. The
Do you have
city of
any
Berkeley,
idea who's actually overseeing the investigation at this point?
well,
Is it
apparently no one is.
the
The
Contra
region,
Costa?
what about the University of California Regents? They have a police paramilitary force with an investigation and intelligence office. They have no vehicles at this crime scene. This is one of their students. That they would have a reason to be there. They would be investigating the death of one of their students, and they're not present. They have vehicles. They have police vehicles. They have automatic weapons too, in case there's ever a peace riot. They'll go down there and crack some heads.
Well,
Which, by the way, that takes me to my final contribution to today's video, which is that when we're talking about the University of California, Berkeley, Cal Berkeley, you're talking about steroid football, steroid swimming, steroid Olympic medalists from this school. Everything's steroid. The basketball players are on steroids and blood doping, and so are the football players. You're talking about a doped school. You're talking about Timothy Leary, tune in, turn on, drop out, got a PhD in psychology from Cal Berkeley. You're talking about Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, who was given electroshock treatments by Timothy Leary, who came from this school, then went to Harvard, then became a department head of psilocybins, monkeying around with a 17, 18, 19-year-old Ted Kaczynski at Harvard, then sent Ted Kaczynski to Berkeley to become a professor. And that Ted Kaczynski was a professor of mathematics at Berkeley, 1968, 1969. Okay. And then he took a timeout, and then he re-entered the picture in 1982 by sending a Unabomb to Corey Hall at 2626 Hearst Avenue next to the Chancellor's Mansion. Ted Kaczynski exploded a bomb on the fourth floor of today is what's called the Terrace Forum building, where the Rand Corporation has an office. Good for you, Ted Kaczynski. Then he sent a second bomb in 1985, again detonated on the fourth floor of the Terra Hertz building, 2626 Hearst Avenue, next to Founders Rock for UC Berkeley, founded in 1860 after the gold rush. We have the University of California. It was called College of California. And then we had Ted Kaczynski portrayed as a Unabomber, who was a former professor of Berkeley, blowing up Berkeley buildings. Then we had the peace riots, which had to do with public assembly, peaceful public assembly, protesting mandates, conscription, the draft to Vietnam War. And then someone threw a brick through some windows, and the media re-characterized the peaceful assembly as peace rioting, which there's no such thing as peace rioting. It's a made-up linguistical term. Then we had the Symbionese Liberation Army kidnap Patricia Hearst as a freshman living off College Avenue, not far from where, Jennifer Doudna's lab is. Patty Hearst kidnapped. And we had a, 18-month psych ops involving the Symbionese Liberation Army and Berkeley. And then we had the Hare Krishnas, and we have the School of Theology, and I got Charlie Manson playing the guitar at Sather Gate. And this is the university who brought us Tune In, Turn On, Drop Out, Timothy Leary, the Unabomber, Charlie Manson playing the guitar during the peace riots, and we have the kidnapping of Patty Hearst with the SLA. And you know what? They got every one of those stories incorrect and wrong. And today, on Valentine's Day, the 14th of February is Valentine's Day, we discover a dead master's degree candidate, Saketh, and he's dead. What do you think the mathematical probability is that this media story involving the suicide death of an Indian national is a fake story, or is an incorrect story, or is factually in error story? What do you think the chances are, Jennifer, based on the credibility of news media coverage of Cal Berkeley campus over the last 60, 70 years? What do you think the chances are that they're going to get this story correct? Back to you.
Well, zero chance they're going to get it correct. 100% that it's either fake, in error, a hoax,
All
or
right.
part of a multi-generational history of Berkeley being the campus for operations for
It'd be the first
CIA.
time they ever got a story correct.
Yeah, CIA COINTELPRO
But we don't
operations.
even know what date the kids started going to Berkeley. We don't even
It's
know the
very
start date.
frustrating. I'm very
Yeah.
frustrated by the lack of the most basic facts. I mean, you got the roommate saying he was only eating chips and cookies. Well, how does the roommate
Right.
know that? Does he know
I don't
everything
know.
that guy eats 24/7? I mean, maybe he just likes that for a little snack. And
A little bit too much information that
yeah,
you probably shouldn't know that information,
it's a little
really.
too cute by half. It's a little
Right.
too much. It's like he was given a script. You know,
I think so.
it's
I
too.
think all the like the Kennedy assassination, all the
Mhm,
witnesses, like Walter Cronkite, who wasn't there, and Dan
mhm,
Rather, who says he wasn't there, he was on the other side of the railroad trestle. He even says he wasn't there. Then he goes on to tell you how Jack Kennedy got killed, but he already admitted he wasn't. He didn't see it. But then he says he saw the Zapruder film, which is a bald-faced lie. He did not see the Zapruder film,
mhm.
since it has to be developed in Rochester, New York. Dan Rather is in field in Dallas. He's not in Rochester. So, take your stupid CBS Evening News poppycock story and get lost, Dan Rather. But so, in other words, all the witnesses that you saw on television regarding the John JFK assassination, they're fake witnesses. They're part of the operation. They're like the
Mhm.
cleanup crew. And these two knuckleheads in this boat here, they're part of the operation. They're part of the presentation of a suicide story, but they're not
Well,
part of a suicide, and they're not part of a murder. I'm not saying they killed the kid. I'm saying they're creating the illusion that the kid killed himself, then, like Houdini on a magic carpet, sunk himself 20 feet deep into the mud, which Johnny Roselli couldn't do, and Natalie Wood couldn't do it. But the kid from India, from the Institute of Technology, he could do it.
and yet there's not one single post on the Cal Berkeley's Twitter or X account commenting on the disappearance, death, and or recovery of the body of this
Well,
master.
maybe they know more than us. Maybe it actually never happened in real life.
Yeah,
Maybe it only happened for people who do not go to Berkeley. It's not a Berkeley story. It's a for everyone else's story. It's just a
interesting.
metaverse. It's like a simulation.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you're. The whole thing
I
could just
don't
be
know.
one big made up story. I mean,
Right.
I
I
wish.
don't like to take stuff too seriously anymore because it could be the AI.
I know, I know. I'm going to believe that there was an individual and he did study and
All
something
right.
happened to him.
Right. I hear you. No, I mean, we've got all ABC, right? All bases covered. On the Juxtaposition channel with Jennifer Small, we have all bases covered. That's what we do here. All blocks covered. In other words, if it's a sim, we've covered it. If it's a real story with a real person that got killed, we're covering it. Does it look like a murder? Yeah, it looks like a murder. Does it look like a suicide? No, does not look like a suicide. But we're covering it because you know what? We're performing a journalistic function. And do you know why Jennifer Small and Juxtaposition are doing this show? Because there's no journalism in the world
Right,
today.
right.
And if you want to get real legit journalism, you come here, because I got Nancy Drew and we got Joe Hardy over here in the form of Juxtaposition. And we are not taking no potato in the tailpipe to dinner. That is not how we cook baked potatoes. We don't use an automobile exhaust pipe to bake our potatoes on this show. We're like legit. We're too legit to quit. We're too legit to quit. All right, Jennifer, any final comments? And we will put this video in the can.
I just like to encourage your readers and subscribers to come forward with their expertise and stories as as warranted and as they'd like to express and share. Just like I had the experience of being a college trustee, someone else might have an experience that would be relevant to a future event.
Thank you. Well put. That's well put, because we like to storytelling. We like nonfiction storytelling on the show because we think it's better than what you get in the metaverse. All right. And do look at the show notes, look at the footnotes, do look at the other videos we've done with the suspicious death of Saketh. Let me see if I can pronounce his last name. Sreenivasiah. Saketh. Let's say that we've covered this now in 3 videos. We will do another video on this story should there be any developments. Sadly, Jennifer and I think that this story could have a very short shelf life since the university hasn't even commented on it yet, and they've had 11 days to do that, and they haven't done it. And it could end up like a Martha Nolan story or a Mitt Romney sister-in-law got tossed off a parking garage story, or it could be like the Charlie Kirk story or the Erica Kirk soon to be next story. Is that it'll just be forgotten about. We'll go on to the next suspicious murder, suspicious suicide story. But do look at the show notes and feel free to post your comments and or actual knowledge of the UC Berkeley campus, which is a weapon foundry. If you didn't know, it's a weapons research for DARPA and Novartis and the pharmaceutical industry foundry, under the guise of being a institution of higher learning. They don't care about the students. They don't care about the students who are alive. They don't care about the students who pay $1 billion in tuition. They care about their corporate sponsors who pay $5 to $8 billion a year to Berkeley. That's who they care about. They care about the Department of Energy and weapons research. They don't care about the students. They don't care about the students. And if their students get killed or drowned, they don't care. It's all about the money at Berkeley. And that's true at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and that's true at Harvard, and that's true at Princeton and Yale also, and Stanford, and all the rest of those research institutes that take Department of Energy money and DARPA money. Okay, anything else you have to say there, Jennifer? And we will catch you outside in the lobby for some champagne and beluga caviar.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
Bye-bye.